Hello, everyone. I'm Gemma Star, and welcome to another episode of Heart Warriors. Heart Warriors is a series I've been guided and inspired to do thanks to my energetic connection with Kata Judah. Kata Judah is the sacred masculine site in Central Australia, very close to Uluru, our beautiful sacred feminine site. What I'm here to do is to give a platform to men so they can speak one-on-one to other men watching this show. And of course, us women walking right there beside them. I ask them to share their story into the heart, their experiences, their highs, their lows, their rock bottom moment. What did it take for them to spiral on up and become the men they are today? They share their wisdom, insights, knowledge, tools, practices, opinions, and we will talk about healthy masculinity and men in today's society. Now, my very special guest today is Rupani. Now, is a BDSM and Tantra teacher, coach, and he is also an author, and he runs online and in-person workshops over there in the US. So very excited to have here today and hear all about his journey into the heart. Enjoy.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello, so honored to have you here. Welcome to Heart Warriors.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Lovely. Well, I like to start to get to know a little bit about the man, but by understanding who he is inside. So how would you describe yourself if you were to let go of all your external labels?
How would I describe myself? I still feel there's a combination of a scientist and an artist in here. All this sex exploration and sex teaching has been kind of the last phase of my life. I started off like a good little Indian boy wanting to be an engineer, possibly wanting to be a scientist, maybe be a doctor. I was good at math and sciences as a kid. I had no interest in the arts or anything. I started college studying engineering and pre-med. So in a way, that part of my early identity is still kind of sitting in there, that was the life I thought I was going to live as a kid. And then about sophomore year of college, while studying biomedical engineering and pre-medicine, I completely lost my heart. And pursuing that line, it didn't feel true to me. So there was a crisis point at one point in my young life in early 20s, even in not even the 20s quite. And then the muse called a little bit. So I did photography and film for 15 years and I really loved it. And that's still an integral part of my life. It really added a great deal of richness and dimension to who I am as a person and allowed me to explore my point of view and share my perspective as an artist. And then kind of, I'm 52 now. So I think in my 30s, all this sexuality exploration showed up and mainly as a really initially just as for my own self, for my own relationship, not with any intention of teaching or being in front of people whatsoever. No desire or intention to do any of that. I'm very much an introvert. But then, I don't know, life has plans for you that we can't control. And little by little, it turned out I ended up talking about it, sharing about it, teaching about it. And that part has kind of grew and become the forefront of my life in the last 15 years.
Fascinating. Well, I'd like to backtrack and just see how you became the man you are today. So if we go
Okay.
back to that little boy, little what was
Yeah,
the biggest challenge he had to overcome?
that he was a fat kid. That was one of them. Apart from that, childhood was pretty happy. I did well in school. I had lots of friends, had a happy childhood. Uh, yeah, I had a difficult relationship with my parents, but even that didn't start till my teenage years. I think that was the biggest challenge of the early life is individuating from my parents and uh, getting away from their intrusiveness and finding my own life away from them. I'm sure as many teenagers do, but that was in a way one of the bigger uh, difficult journeys, early journeys of my life. I was always a good student. I was usually top of my class, so I was a smart kid. Teachers liked me. I did well in school. So what else can I tell you?
Can we dive a bit deeper into this individualization away from parents? Because
Yeah.
a lot of men watching have probably gone through this or going through this. So
Yeah.
I'd like to expand on what that feels like for a teenage boy. What are the limitations and the challenges? And then also get into how you overcame that.
I overcame it simply by running away from home as early as possible. I went away to college at age 17. I think I was a year ahead. Went from Houston all the way to Boston and never lived with my parents again after that. Visited occasionally and less frequently as time went on. So the escape part was easy. Just get away and find a way to live alone and on your own and be away from under their roof and under their voice, under their criticism, under their interference, and find my own way. That was the second part. What was the first part of your question?
What that felt like as a teenager.
It felt oppressive. It felt uh, I couldn't be myself, express myself. I could not uh, listen to my own inclinations, choose my own direction. Again, nothing unique for teenagers. I'm sure it's a pretty standard narrative, but it was pretty strong in my household and also very cultural. Yeah, you will find this narrative all over, certainly in the Indian household, where Indian parents are very meddlesome. They often don't let their children individuate. They want to tell them what to study, what to major in, how to live their life, who to marry. And yeah, I think it's part of our individuation process to say no to that.
Yeah,
I think it's a healthy thing to make that separation.
definitely. Thank you.
Yeah,
It's one thing to, get away physically, but can
yeah.
you let go of the emotional and the mental conditioning of the expectations of parents? How does a man do that?
It takes longer. It helps if you're a bastard like me. It helps if you're a son of a bitch like me. It helps if you are disagreeable. It helps if you have a strong inner core and an inner sense of yourself that you don't feel lost without that. Uh, so kicking them out of my life schema was not the hard part, but psychologically, it actually took a bunch of years to get them out of my head. They were pretty verbally and emotionally abusive and critical. So the internal critic that we all have, which we kind of grapple with throughout our life, was very loud in the first years when I left home. And I could feel it, I could hear it. And I'm like, I don't want these people inside my head. Right. And I could hear their voices and their criticism. It was like somebody barking at you the whole time. And it took a while to like, I don't know what the exact process is, but to say, yeah, I don't want this thing in me and go away. And I'm not going to listen to this. And I'm not going to be afraid by your criticism.
Mm.
So I think emotionally it does take a toll, that inner critic that is the voice, the interjected voice of our parents and primary caregivers who want to rule our life, who want to govern and direct our life.
Yeah. I'm wondering, have you got advice for men that may be recognizing this within themselves and need to, how important is it for a man to work through this individualization and become his own man?
It's crucially important. I think it's crucially important for, I would say, for all of us to do that, but I certainly deal with it much more with the men I coach and talk to. And most of them are still trying to separate from the mother. We are living in a time of single motherhood. So it's a very common phenomenon for the sons to have internalized the mother, for the mother to have an extra tight grip on the son. We are kind of living in a time of edible complexes. Freud would be very proud. He really nailed this phenomenon in his articulation of the dark mother, of the overbearing mother, of the mother who wants to continue to have her hooks and her tangles in a grown up son, who wants to remain a primary force in the son's life, who essentially wants to turn the sons into mama's boys. And it's a very common problem because we have an abundance of that kind of mother in the world today. And it's a very soft hook.
Mm.
It's a very slow and soft poison for this reason, that sons don't want to condemn their mothers. If you tell a son, if you tell a man, your mother is poisonous, they don't want to hear it. We love our mothers, right? It's again, this goes back to, I'm not a trained psychologist, but these days we are all so savvy because we are all good at dissecting our psyches and watching therapists on YouTube, trying to understand what the hell is happening with us. This is a very difficult thing that children grapple with. We all grapple with as children, is we can't find mommy wrong. Because mommy is everything, and if we find mommy wrong, our entire world falls apart. Because if mommy is wrong, the world is chaos. We have no leg to stand on if mother is wrong. So all the juggling acts we do in our psyche to keep mother correct, we pay for later in life, right? So if mother threw tantrums, mommy can't be wrong. But your girlfriend is throwing tantrums, you're attracted to one borderline woman after another. That's just how women are. Mommy was that way. Mommy had dark days. Mommy threw dishes. Mommy was emotionally unpredictable and abusive. It's just how women are. In fact, if I'm not with a woman who's like that, it doesn't feel real, right? If you can't condemn mother, you are doomed to be attracted to the same neurotic woman that your mother was. And I see men making this tragic loop all over the place, right? Give me a man who's tolerating any kind of bullshit from his wife, and you can put money down, he tolerated the same bullshit from his mother. And he thinks this is what femininity is. And the reason whenever you point out to him, like, man, the way your wife is treating you, this really isn't right. The reason he can't make that switch in condemning his wife is because if he did so, some part of his mind knows I will also have to condemn mother, because mother was exactly the same, and he can't do it. He may not even realize this is what's happening. That if I flick the switch on the wife and say, no more bullshit from women in my life, he will also say, you know what? All that shit my mother pulled on me, that wasn't cool. Right? So, yeah, in a way, I think we are still, most of our lives is still grappling with our mothers. As cliche as that sounds, I've really come to believe that. Even the work we are doing in our adulthood, in our 40s and 50s, have to do with our primary relationship with the mother. Really, with the mother. I would say even today, I'm a big proponent of prompting women to deal with their daddy issues because fathers are missing. But here's what even I am changing my mind about. Most of the issues that women are grappling with deep in their psyches have nothing to do with father. They have to do with mommy. All of us are dealing with how we formulated our understanding of how love functions, how security functions in the first 4 years of our life, where the mother was the primary force. All of us, men and women, boys and girls. And I think most of the stuff women are all confused about, even if they had missing fathers, that leaves its own mark and needs to be dealt with. But I would bet most of women's attachment styles, their abandonment issues, it all goes back to mother. So
This is
it's our big crucible in life. Go ahead.
fascinating. Okay, let's talk because a lot of women watch these shows as well. So let's talk to those single mums who have the best of intentions but might not
Yeah,
understand these soft hooks. I love that terminology. Can you
yeah.
please talk to those single mums and give them advice on raising, well, mainly sons, but of course daughters as well?
Well, my first prompt to women would be, what is your state of your mental and emotional health as a human being and as a woman? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are you contained? Are you sane? Do you feel stable in your emotions? Are you able to provide a consistent emotional container to your children? It's the main thing. It truly is the main thing. I don't even think we need our fathers first 4 years of our life all that much. I really believe fathers actually come in later on to show us how to interact with society. They make us social beings. But women give us our emotional grounding and our emotional framework, our mothers. And if mothers are overwhelmed, the children will not feel contained and safe. If mother's emotions are up and down, it impacts the children. If the mothers are feeling abandoned and angry and overwhelmed, it'll impact the children. If the mother is conveying that men are garbage, men are shit, your husband, your father was garbage, he left me, and our life is so difficult because of him and because of men, you're fucking up your children. Start a therapy fund for them, right? So can you do that as a woman? Are you that solid, grounded, good mother who can provide an emotionally stable and consistent environment, containment to your children through their formative years? If you are, you're golden. You'll be fine. But how many women do you know like that? Truthfully, yeah, how many women do you know like that? I don't any. Those women are very, they're the exception, right? Most good women, most solid women, most happy, healthy, balanced women are batshit crazy at least 25% of the time. And they need outside containment, and they need outside holding, and they need outside grounding. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the feminine is built to be more chaotic. I don't think women are built to be alone. I don't think women are built to provide self-containment, especially with the task and overwhelm of raising children, which is very difficult. It's very difficult to raise children. With a husband, it's very difficult to raise children. It's very difficult to raise easy and healthy children. God help you if you have children who are a little difficult or who have challenges, right? So this is the phenomenon I see very widespread all over the place.
Yeah, I love these insights into the mother relationship. What can you say about the father relationship then?
Well, it would be great if more of them were around. If it would be great if we were not so easy to dispose with the father. It would be great if we had strong fathers. It would be great if we had men who knew how to handle women. It would be great if we had men who could bring more grounding, more solidity, more security to their household, who knew how to calm their women down and hold them and give them containment, who could provide that strong safety and containment to their entire family, including their wife and their children. It would be lovely. I think it creates real peace in the system, real security in the system. It gives a beautiful foundation for a household in the first 5 to 10 years of a children's life. And after that point, you know what? Children are more impacted by their peers than their parents anyway. They grow up so fast. But we need them. You need that combination, let's say at least for the first 8 to 10 years of your life. Right.
This is great. And maybe some men are watching that, are hearing this for the first time on what you said about, what a man can bring to, fatherhood and the
Yeah.
relationship. So can we expand on this subject, please, and talk a bit more to the men listening of this container, this frame, this security, this groundedness that they can offer a relationship and how important it is.
It's very important. This is why I teach about containment so much. If you follow my work at all, I have so many videos on that. We all need containment. I feel the feminine needs it even more. I think the feminine is built to be more in flux and more chaotic, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's in a way, it's fun and beautiful. It's a good polarization. But this is where we need each other. I think men are meant to be more impassive, more stoic, stronger, emotionally more stable, emotionally more invariable, right? The manly virtues kind of demand that. And it's a good combination, and we can make each other's lives richer. The men actually need a little bit of frivolity and chaos and up and down in their life. You will observe this polarity even in gay relationships, right? Traditionally, we used to, today we are politically crazy about every kind of terminology, but men would say husband and wife, man to man gay relationship. And generally, when you would observe their temperament, one guy was more butch, the other guy was more femme. He was a bit more feminine. He brought the chaotic element, and it was a nice combination. So it doesn't even matter what's between your legs. This polarity of temperament works, and they enrich each other's lives. You'll see this in lesbian relationships. They'll be butch and femme, and it works for them. It works same thing in man-woman relationships. I feel that this day, Gay people are more in touch with the need for polarization, and straight people have their heads up their asses who want to destroy their polarity. I'm like, okay. But to have this balance, and the function of the more masculine element in the relationship always was to give containment to the feminine element. They were the stable, they were the ground, they were the grounded person. They were less variant. They could be the rock in the storm to the other person. And it's not generally like a reciprocal energetic thing. It usually is one way. It's not like I will give you containment Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you give me containment Thursday, Friday. It doesn't work that way. The father is supposed to be the father. You don't expect to see your father breaking down every week. Doesn't work that way. And that kind of consistency in the masculine, I think, is a good virtue to have. We used to train boys to head towards that kind of a temperament. And today we are calling it toxic. We used to tell boys, you're not a boy anymore, be a man up.
Right.
And we think that's toxic these days. It really isn't. It was kind of telling them there is a masculine ideal of temperament that you should head towards. That if you are 7, 8 years old, you can be liquidy. There's very little difference between boys and girls at that age. And it's fine. It's beautiful. They're all very supple at that age. They haven't individualized. But there's no way you can say teenage boys should be like teenage girls. No, not really. The biology is screaming, saying they're not the same anymore.
Yes.
And the boys were supposed to be kind of sullen assholes at that age. They're trying to individuate. They're trying to be stoic. They're trying to be indifferent and impassive. They're heading in that direction. I think it's a good thing. Right. In the old days, that was a prerequisite to embodying the warrior archetype. And every young man was a warrior in his tribe. You had to be. So I think we need to bring back at least some of those virtues back in our ideals of man and woman. I think they serve us well. Without it, nobody's really happy. It's not like you women are happy with these watery boys, regardless of the bullshit you post on Facebook. You're not. So who is it working for anyway? Telling men they should be more effeminate, they should be more watery, they should cry more. I've never seen a woman whose pussy gets wet watching a man cry. Truly. Never seen it. Pussy may cringe and pull back, but yeah, you don't say, oh God, I want to sleep with him. I'm so hot for him now. Doesn't work that way.
Okay, well, can we get into men expressing emotions or not? I mean, do men still feel these emotions? Well, let's start with
Where have we come up with this idea? Where have we come up with this idea that men all through history have not expressed emotion? Am I not expressing emotion right now?
okay, yeah,
Am I not smiling and laughing and cursing and expressing anger and disgust? Who the fuck told you that you need to teach us how to feel? I mean, truly, who the fuck do you think you are that you think it is your job to tell us how to feel, what to feel? That without you, we will not develop our emotional muscles. Who has told you this? Feminists. Fuck your feminists. All your greatest poets through histories have been men. All your greatest writers and playwrights have been men. All your songwriters and musicians have been men. What the fuck are you talking about that you need to teach men emotions? Where did you get this idea? You want to teach Shakespeare how to feel? You want to teach Robert Plant how to feel? You want to teach Mick Jagger how to feel and make you feel? You want to tell Shelley and Byron and Thoreau and Whitman how to feel? Who has told you men's emotional systems have been shut off and they need to be restarted? Please explain it to me.
yeah, I wasn't actually intending that. Um, I was going to ask you if how men can deal with emotions when they're feeling angry or they're feeling sad.
They leave men alone. Let them deal with their own emotions. Why are you taking it on?
Well,
What
I'm
makes you
asking you to
why
talk
do you think
to other men.
why do you think it's the provenance of women to handle man's emotions are to tell men how to manage their emotions
Well, I'm
or
not.
give
This
them
is why
guidelines.
I'm asking you to
So
do
where
it.
is this? Tell me where this concern is coming from.
I'm asking you to talk to other men and tell them how you do it, how they can do it if they are being
I don't think they
emotional.
need to hear from me. I don't think men need to be told that they need to feel. I don't think men need to be told how they need to feel, how much they need to feel. I think men are fine with their emotions. Just leave them the fuck alone. They are going to feel emotions the way they are going to feel emotions. If you don't like the way they emote, that's your problem.
Okay.
What is your concern about men's emotions? What is any woman's concerns about men's emotions? What do you think is damage there that needs to be fixed?
Well, the aim of this series is for men to talk to other men. And some men watching might not
Yeah,
know how to deal with their emotions.
I don't know. I don't really think that's true.
Okay.
I've talked to men all day long. I coach men every day. Have men in my classes. I never come across like, oh my God, I need to teach this man how to feel. I just don't even encounter this problem. I encounter many other problems. The mother problem we talked about is pandemic. Yeah. Men trying to get perspective on how they're caught in a rut with feminine patterns going back to mother, that is everywhere. And that part I have to bring men's attention to over and over and over and over. This idea women have that men need to be taught how to feel, men need to be given permission how to feel. I don't see this problem anywhere. I can't think of one man in all my years of coaching and teaching who I felt is just not in touch with his emotions.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Well,
Yeah.
okay. What about men that are expressing a lot of their emotions and what you said, maybe they're crying or being angry and they don't understand that maybe that's not good for the feminine.
There's nothing wrong with having all the emotions you want. So we're not telling men to stop feeling emotions, but there are two independent things, which is you also need a certain degree of containment, masculine containment in your system, right? You need to be able to feel and you need to be able to function. And this has always been an integral part of the masculine journey. We are not asking anybody to shut down their emotions. I'm not in favor of repression, right? And yet it has always been part of masculine virtue that in the most difficult situations, hold yourself together. And I believe these are two independent functions in the emotional bodies of men that allow yourself to feel whatever is happening and yet hold enough containment and character around your system so that you are not liquefying all over the place, right? Jordan Peterson gives this thing. It's like if people ask him, well, some of the good hallmarks of masculinity, and he made this one statement at one point, which really stayed with me. He said, be useful at your father's funeral. Now, do you get that? Can you get that right away? He's not saying don't mourn your father. No, don't grieve your father. Don't love your father. You could be falling apart inside. You could be crying. And yet, be useful at your father's funeral. He, in one sentence, he articulated that combination. Men have always been encouraged towards this. We have never told men you must not feel fear, but we have always encouraged them in the face of fear, function. In the face of fear, don't lose ground. In the face of fear, take the action which you know you ought to take, even if you're trembling. Every more war movie will show you this. We don't tell them have no fear. Only psychopaths would have no fear. It's impossible. Of course you will have fear. But can you function in fear? Can you still do the right thing in fear? Or will you run? Will you abandon your post? Will you abandon the man next to you who's relying on you? Because that is a problem. If you do that, things fall apart because it's not about you. In a tribe, on the front line, this is an ethos. No matter how much you're trembling, you need to hold the line. If you don't, the line falls apart and the tribe dies. There's a reason this ethos has been put into place. Nobody's telling men, don't feel, don't be afraid. Yet the mark of your character is, can you act in spite of the emotions? And those are two independent things, right? And we have known this forever. We have known this since caveman days. I don't think this is anything new information, right? Maybe it just needs to be articulated a little bit clearly. It needs to be, and again, these were the virtues that boys used to learn from their kingdom of men, from their tribe of men, by observing older brothers, the older brothers' friends, fathers, uncles, tribesmen behave that way, behave with courage. Be wholehearted men, be loving men, be expressive men, be laughing and loving and playful and mischievous, and yet be solid and reliable and show up in times of trouble, right? Nothing new under the sun. These are very true and tried masculine virtues. There's nothing new being expressed here.
Yeah, I love this. How can single mothers teach these to their boys if they're not?
You can't. You really can't.
Right.
You can't. I don't think you can. It would have to be an exceptional mother, and even if she's doing that, she's really embodying the masculine virtues. She's essentially becoming a father.
Right.
To teach that to her sons, and that's too much work for one person. It would be wonderful if the sons and the daughters could actually have the mother, the loving mother, the caring mother, the strong mother, the functional mother, and yet learn the masculine virtues from the masculine. You really don't want to do double duty.
Yeah. How important is initiation in a boy's life?
I think it's natural. I think one way or another, I think it's almost by the virtue of the hormonal transition and initiation happens, but it's wonderful if it is actually backed up by culture.
Mm.
Right? We have lost our initiation for boys these days. And I think we are suffering because of it.
Yeah.
There used to be a deeper wisdom that we need this transition from boyhood to manhood. And I think in the best functioning tribes, everybody was in on this transition. This was an agreement in the tribe that this needs to happen, right? And the core piece for that for me in things I've read and heard about on how other tribes used to do it was that the mother was in on this transition. That was the crucial part. The mother knew this transition is coming,
Mm.
right? And there are many stories, there are different rites of passages, but essentially it would be like one story I've heard, I think, would be like literally the bunch of men would come in and grab the boy from his mother's lap, right? And say, that's it. You will never have that lap again. You'll never have that breast again. And take him away and do a rite of initiation. And when the boy came back, if he wanted to run back to the mother would say, no, I'll still love you. Not that way.
Yes.
You don't get to collapse as a boy in my arms again. Something to that degree. However, the details were that the mother did not want to keep the boy into his 20s and 30s. The mother knew this transition is needed, and I, as the mother, need to play a part in it. Everybody was in on it, right? And I think it would be great if we had that, but today we are viewing all of that through a very dark and unfriendly lens.
Mm.
We are not seeing the need for that kind of initiation.
Yeah, from the men I've spoken to, a lot of talking about this. So hopefully it's coming into a bit of a revival.
It's much needed. I think boys need role models. They need masculine role models, and they seem to have fewer and fewer of them these days. They certainly don't. It's very rare for them to actually have them in their own life, in their own vicinity.
Mm.
And it would be great if they had that. Older brothers used to serve as that. Everybody older than you. It always has been the case that the younger brothers are chasing around older brothers, wanting to be part of their games, wanting to impress them, wanting to be part of their group. And I think that all of this is quite healthy because they need to grow and they need to become as grown men are. So it would be great if they had good role models of This is who I want to become. This is who I want to idolize. Young boys need heroes. They very badly need heroes that they feel that man embodies the kind of man I want to be. Right. So I think all that is quite healthy. I don't think there's any problem with that.
Definitely. What's your opinion on why this decline has happened?
I don't know. I'm not a historian. I can't really draw a straight line for you. You'd be better off asking a historian what has happened socially. Um, why exactly this weakening of masculinity and masculinization of women? We can in one word we can say it's feminism, but it's a good answer, it's a correct answer, but I feel there are layers and layers. Even if this is an ideology the world has bought, you can dig one layer deeper and say, well, why did they buy this ideology? There are many ideologies out there. Why did this one take root? There probably are deeper reasons, right? Uh, I'm not a historian. I'm not that interested in history. I'm more interested in functionality. And I'm like, are things working today? Is this working for you? Is becoming this masculinized working for women? And are women attracted to non-masculine men? I think the answer is no on both ends. Listen, if the answer is yes for you, I got no problems with you. I'm nobody. I have nothing. I'm just one guy with one opinion. As they say, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one. There's nothing sacred or particularly special about me and my opinion, and as many other people you're talking to, or anybody who is expressing opinions parallel to mine. My take on all this is truly practicality. Is this working for you? If it's working for you, God bless you. Please live a happy life. I'm only interested in people living happy, thriving lives. So whatever I am doing in this realm, I'm only doing because I see a lot of things not working. I don't see this depolarization working really well. It's not working for women either. It's not, right? It's women more than men who are coming to me for polarization work. So it's like, this is not working for you gals. It's women telling me, oh, please do something with this guy. Right? It's not, it's like the men are coming after the women. So I don't think this stuff is working out for you women either. So who is it working out for? And the men are not happy. The men are losing with you women. They're saying, I've turned myself into the kind of good man that the women of today say they want, but I'm not having much success with it. They don't really seem to like me much. They don't respect me much. They leave me, and the guy they leave me for, he is not none of those things that they say. So it's really not working at both ends. And that's kind of my focus on how to create more functionality between people in relationships, in their eros, in their relating, and people actually loving and having some degree of respect and like being proud of the person they're with instead of looking at them as a project, right? Like I would rather be with a woman like, God damn, look at the man I got, instead of, can you please fix these 5 things in my mind so I can finally think something of him? Not a good look on women, right?
Yeah, this is great. So when a couple comes to you for polarization work, how do you guide them? How does a man become more in his masculine?
How does a man become more in his masculine? Uh, I have an entire course that deals with that. I'm trying to figure out how to give you a short answer on this. There isn't a single dimension, but there are a few things. I think the conversation on extricating the mother and the mother's voice and the mother's energy from the system is one big step, right? If anything, I think today's men are spending too much time with women and on women. They have become their wives' husbands. They have become their girlfriends' boyfriends, right? They have kind of adopted the women's obsession with relationship, and it's not a good look on men.
Hmm.
They don't even know they have done this, and women may not even know they have done this. But trust me, when a man is as relationship obsessed as the woman is, all the woman feels is irritation. She may not be able to articulate it, but she'll be like, why are you here so much? Why do you even give a shit this much about my feelings? Why do you let me pull you into 3-hour processing sessions? Don't you have shit to do? Go play golf. Go work. Go make more money. Right? I think this is part of the feminization of men, that men have become relationship objects to women. Yeah. So this may be not a very friendly thing to say. I think men should care less about women. Men should have better things to do in their life than just women, than just sex, than just pussy. Truly. Neither sex, nor women, nor relationships. Build a big fucking life, build something of yourself in this world, have a mission, have a purpose that has nothing to do with women and there's nothing to do with chasing pussy. And you know what? Women will find you more attractive, turns out. Have clearer boundaries. Stop your processing marathons with women. Give them containment, by the way. That's what the women are actually seeking when they're spinning around in their emotions. They actually don't want a 1 hour processing session with a man. They want a man who's going to hold them in their arms, tell them to shut the fuck up, come into her body, and quiet down. And if she does that, if she surrenders to that, if she allows him to hold her, she's like, okay, all right, good. That he can do for her, give her true containment. But the guy who's willing to process you for 3 hours, at the end of 3 hours, you're still not feeling contained. You're still annoyed. You're still spinning around in your head. Guy's done you no good, right? This is what's happened with the feminization of men. It's the worst thing men can do is ask women how to be. They kind of need the cheat sheet to how to handle women, how to handle women's emotions, how to give women containment, and then really do it in a shorter period of time and then go do other things in life.
Okay, this sounds great, but what if, the man's holding the woman and the woman still feels that the issue hasn't been resolved between them?
What's the issue?
Oh, I don't know, maybe they're disagreeing about, I don't know, money's usually a big one, isn't it? What they should spend their money on.
I don't know. I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of each part of the relationship. That it's going to be pointless to do it that way. You can tell in broad strokes, be with a man you can support, be with a man you respect. If you're with a man you feel you have to manage to this degree, if you're with a man that you feel he's such a child that I have to manage him, you're with the wrong man anyway. Go find a man who knows how to handle life better than you.
Okay.
How's that?
That's good. Thank you.
A man should not need your advice on how to handle his money.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, maybe that
Truly.
wasn't a good
He
example.
should not, well, give me any other example. A man should know how to handle your sex. A man should have his money together. A man should have his own integrity and esteem in place so that you look at him and you respect him. And you're golden. You're done. First, third chakra is covered.
Okay, well, what if you feel that like he hasn't oh sorry, like what if you feel that he hasn't spoken nicely to you?
Get over it. I don't know. I don't know what you want from me here. You're gonna bring out an entire list of problems that men and women
No,
go through and
okay,
want to
all right.
solve it for you.
Okay.
He hasn't spoken nice to you. In what occasion? For what reason?
All right. I'm happy to move on if you want to
No, no,
move.
no. I'm trying to or give me a specific scenario so we can talk about it.
Well, I'm
This is
trying to
too
help
general.
men watching understand women. So, if the woman's upset that, she feels that she hasn't been seen or heard, and she's expressing that to him, does he just hold her and tell her to shut up?
I don't know. These are all dangerous questions to answer because there's no correct answer for this. And to answer these questions is to put my foot in my mouth.
Okay.
I would teach men how to put quality attention on their women. I can teach men the things I know work and the contribution they can make to the feminine. I teach men you should hone your attention and you should know how to put quality attention on your woman. Right? And on the woman's part, it is wonderful if the woman is receptive to his attention. She likes receiving attention from this man, and she's gracious about receiving his attention. So if they have that circuit in place, this is a good meeting point.
Okay.
right? He knows how to put quality attention on her, and she basks and enjoys being in his attention. If he knows how to put quality attention on her, he can perceive her needs. He is interested in handling her, in engaging her, in giving her containment. And because why? Because she receives him well there, she appreciates him, and when he puts his attention on her and she receives it graciously, he wins with her. And if that circuit is in place, she does not have to get in this management and damage control mode on how do I get him to put attention on me? How do I get him to listen to me? Part of his masculinity is he is listening to her. Does that mean he wants to sit down and process with her for around 1 hour? No. Does it mean he wants to micromanage each one of her emotions and tantrums? No. She needs to be a grown woman here who doesn't need him 24/7. And if he says, I am putting quality attention on you, I am attending and care about your needs, and yet all this other stuff that's going on, you need to handle this yourself. I have other things to do. That's the woman's job. I'll give you a very practical place where this shows up, both from the wife and the mother, right? I have men who are working very hard, keeping long hours, making a lot of money in demanding jobs. And depending on the man, both men have brought the scenario. My mother texts me and calls me in the middle of a workday, expecting me to reply. My wife calls me and texts me in the middle of a workday, expecting me to reply. To both of those, I would say, fuck you. I would say, fuck you to the mother. I would say, fuck you to the wife. I'm being belligerent on purpose to make the point so you'll get this in your podcast. No, that's not the functioning of a proper mother, and that is not the functioning of a good wife. That's bullshit. That's a child on the other end. Learn how to support your man. He's working so he can make something of yourself so you can enjoy the lifestyle you do. Support your man. Be the fucking 50s wife. Cook dinner at home for him and his boss and his colleagues. Support his career. Support his energies for the world he's building for the two of you, instead of leeching energy off of him while he's trying to make something of himself at work. Or the edible mother who thinks she has unconditional access to her son while the son is in his 40s and 50s. No. No, that's actually kind of gross. Seek therapy yourself. I encourage my man to start hanging up on that mother, to tell the secretary, don't put those calls through. So which one are you talking about when you say a woman who doesn't feel she's getting the attention she wants from her man, or the woman who feels her emotions are not being listened to? It depends which category you're in, right? Is your man completely ignoring you? Is your man like busy at work and he hasn't even said hello to you in 2 weeks? And I would say to that man, you're not attending to your woman. You need to find time for your woman. You can't be forgetting birthdays and anniversaries. You can't be disregarding your woman. You need to put quality attention on your woman. Otherwise, this thing is going to fall apart, right? And but if he's doing that, what is the woman's job on her part, and what are her expectations of the man? And is it all about her needs, her desires, her tantrums, her emotions in the moment? And the man is just what, her butler, her concierge. I need this now. No, that's not what a healthy relationship between a man and a woman looks like, right? So you have to tell me which context you're talking about when you
Well,
say a woman trying to get her needs met. Which woman is it?
it wasn't a personal thing because it's not about me. I was just trying to
It's
generalize.
about a friend you know.
I don't even have a man, so it's not about me. I'm just like,
I know, but I'm trying to answer your questions as thoroughly as possible to tell you I'm all in favor of men and women attending to each other's needs and desires, and yet there has to be a balance.
for sure. And I
Yeah.
love this. I love your insights. Thank you. Can we go back into you becoming the man you are today? What would you say was your rock bottom moment as an adult that you had to fight your way up from?
Well, I'm not even sure what you mean by the man that I am. What are you referring to exactly?
Well, as an adult, What
Yeah.
was your lowest point that you spiraled on up from?
In which context? With women, in my relationship, in life purpose? Which crisis are we talking about?
Life purpose.
I don't remember a crisis point. It has been more like an evolving point of finding my purpose, in encountering things, making discoveries that I might be good at certain things. If anything, I feel I've been prompted by my successes, not entirely all by my failures. There have been failures for sure. But for instance, the work I'm doing now, it came about very, very slowly. And it came about because I felt, hey, I might actually be good at this. So it wasn't necessarily a crisis point. It was more like a launching point saying, I wonder if I can grow this, if I can, this might be a direction I can take that might be more successful. A little bit like that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into this. We've got about half an hour left. What else needs to be brought into this conversation that you'd like to talk around men, masculinity, the healing journey?
Learn to handle your woman's sex. Men need erotic training. I don't know why I need to teach men this, so why emphasize this over and over. But men really seem to be tone deaf when they hear this thing. Men need sexual mastery. You're never going to win over a woman. To put it bluntly, I tell my men this bluntly, you will never dominate a woman without dominating her sex. And I mean dominate in a very positive way. I don't mean dominate her non-consensually. You'll never have a woman be crazy about you if you don't know how to handle her sex. And most men are not very good at handling women's sex. They don't have the training. And women really don't know how to train them, don't want to train them. You would think this would be an area where men would be jumping forward to get trained, but I have found it a little bit puzzling that men have a lot of hesitation and resistance to this. And I have a couple of ideas of why that might be, but I don't even care what their reasons are. I really feel this is an area where men could easily gain mastery very quickly if they set your mind and their attention and their efforts to it, right? But I don't see men kind of making the effort, kind of wholeheartedly saying, I want to acquire this mastery. It always puzzles me quite a bit. And I think it's a very, very big thing. It's a huge thing. I think if a woman feels this man really, and again, by handling women sexually, I truly mean the whole package. I mean everything from starting with containment. That when a woman is with you, when you put your arms around her, she goes, all of it. If that doesn't happen, she's not going to open up to you sexually anyway. Right? If you can't give her that containment initially, she won't be receptive to you to begin with. So please don't think I'm just talking about sexual techniques and position. I'm talking about the entire physicality, the somatic experience, your energetics, your container as a man, your energy as a man. I'm talking about everything from when the woman perceives your energy across the room to, yes, everything you do in intimacy. The whole range of it, if you know how to do that well, how to handle her body and her system well from beginning to end and the day after and from far away. That's a mastery every man should have. Every man seems like they want to have this mastery, but they're not really working towards it. So I think that could be a huge uh, progress in their attractiveness. And again, what they can contribute to a woman. Right. That's an easy message to get across.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so you're a teacher of BDSM and Tantra. Could we
Yep.
open both these subjects, please, and give an insight for people who haven't explored that journey and give them an overview?
Uh, I think Tantra's biggest gift is its the wholeness of its approach. That it does not just imply sexual actions and positions. It is very much interested in our energetics, in the flow of our energy, in our own energetic system, how we carry ourselves, what our signature is before any of the engagement and interaction. And I think that part is very beautiful. That part is very valuable. And that part, I think, can very also be a very integral part of men's journey because, Tantra refers to that as white Tantra, cultivating your own energy, mastering your own energy, harmonizing your own energy. And I think men need that either through Tantra or through other practices. And so many disciplines can give that to them, everything from meditation to martial arts to many other things where they are cultivating their own inner power, their own energies, their own integration. They're creating their own containment and steadiness. And if they have that, now they can offer it to somebody else. It kind of starts there. And really in BDSM, the way I teach it, that is the first and biggest piece I encourage people to bring, which is the first and the most important thing the Dom brings to the submissive is containment. It's not about I don't start teaching with skills and ropes and floggers. Take away all the toys. Can you put your hands on your submissive and simply bring them into containment? Simply by your touch and your energy, can you bring them into subspace? Right. And that to me is like half the journey. Everything else comes after that point. If you don't have that, nothing else will really work all that well. Right. So yeah, to me, this is where Tantra and BDSM very much overlap. And it's also about internal expression, about expression of these archetypes of the Dom and the Sub. You can make the parallel in man-woman relating, whether it's the parallel expression of the masculine and the feminine archetypes.
Okay.
Does that help? It's a big topic.
Yeah. No, I
So,
understand.
but that's like a starting point. I would say that's a good starting point of this exploration and these very rich lineages and traditions, two of them.
Yeah. Are you able to give a couple of simple, short practices to our audience in Tantra and maybe later in BDSM that they can start exploring the journey with?
I would say build your own containment, and the best way to build your own containment is to ground yourself, is to come into your own center, to come into your own core, to come into your own ground, to be in touch with your own inner body, to be in awareness of your own emotional system. It's the simplest way I can explain it. I have a series of videos on containment, and I would say containment is transferred. A simpler word for it, really, it doesn't need to be that complicated. Can be groundedness. We all understand what it means to be grounded, and we all understand what it means to ground somebody when they're ungrounded. The only way you can really ground somebody is if you're grounded yourself. Your system is grounded. You can bring somebody else into groundedness, right? And this is not a sexual skill. This is an energetic skill. But this is a core energetic skill that I think is needed in the man-woman dynamic in any relationship. And it's very much the core part of the Dom-sub dynamic, that the Dom brings the submissive into containment. Subspace, which is what we refer to the state where the submissive goes, I would say is mainly containment. The submissive receives containment and their system quiets down. It's not about the floggers and the whips, right? That actually reverses the energy. The first thing you do is bring them into containment, into stillness, quieten their mind noise, make them feel calm and held, right? So that'll be the first skill. And again, this is something we can cultivate within ourselves. And again, you don't need tantric practices or BDSM practices to do this. Martial arts does this brilliantly. It actually is entirely built on coming into your center, coming into your hara, containing your energies, operating from your center, operating from your core, not taking any action till you have come into your core, and not letting any external action knock you off your core. That's the entire discipline. And it's very much the same discipline, I think, in meditation, awareness practices. They're all kind of pointing towards the same strengthening of our inner awareness, of our inner core, of our inner ground. So I would say start there. And you don't need anybody else to do it. These can be done through solo practices.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Where does the heart come into all this?
I think the heart is always there. I would say the biggest obstacle to heart is our pride, is our ego, is our defensiveness. And we all have pride, ego, defensiveness. There is no human journey without it. None of us are saints, none of us are Buddhas. But I think the human journey is about maybe observing and moving through how our pride is creating obstacles to our love. I think that's a journey we are all taking. That's a journey we are all underway on. But I think that's a very common observation. Yeah, pride stops the energies from rising to the heart.
And when a man recognizes this in himself, what are some tools that he can do to open his heart and maybe reduce the pride?
I don't see this problem in men. I see this problem in women.
Okay.
I don't see closed-hearted men out there. I really don't. I wish if this were a problem, I would address it. I would speak to it. But I think even speaking to it is a misdirection. It is false. I don't see closed-hearted men out there.
Okay.
This is what I'll tell you. This is something I received this is a clarity I received from a very, very wonderful teacher that I just learned from. She articulated this and it went to my heart and brain like an arrow. We truly all understand today that men don't have any kind of an inherent right to women's sex. And I'm completely on board with that. I'm not subscribing to any true patriarchy of the olden times where women were owned without their consent and all that garbage. That's not what I refer to when I say dom and sub, dominating women. I'm not in favor of the tyranny of Afghanistan and Middle East, where women truly are abused, where women truly are dehumanized, where women truly are, they don't have any rights. I think that's disgusting. I don't think any man has any right to any woman's sex. A woman is a sovereign being, a woman's sex is sovereign. When she lets you into her sex, she will say so, and you go there. When she says yes, and when she says no, that's it. She's the gatekeeper. I would say similarly, women don't have a right to men's hearts. But I don't think women observe that boundary very nicely these days. Women are very entitled. You think you have a right to our hearts, and you don't. You don't have a right to our heart. You haven't earned it. And women are neither focused on earning their entry to men's hearts, nor are they earning it. And yet they feel very entitled to it. They have no problem saying things like, you're just so closed off. I can't feel you. I want to feel you vulnerable. No, you haven't earned the right to cross through that door yet. That is as much of a disgusting statement as a man saying, your legs should be open. I can't feel your sex. I can't feel your sex. Well, she will say, fuck you. You can't feel it because I haven't granted you passage yet. Back the fuck off. I don't owe you my sex. The women today, you think you own that heart. You think you should be able to walk through that heart. I think it's that entitlement that even makes you ask question like, how can we teach men how to feel? I'm like, fuck you. You don't even know what's at the base of that question. What's at the base of that question is an unearned entitlement to men's hearts. Check yourself. There's nothing wrong with men's emotions. There's nothing wrong with men's hearts. Our hearts are wide open. Our hearts are wide open. I can't think of a man in any of my circle to whom I had to prompt to open his heart. Not one. When men are together, we can feel each other's hearts across the room, across the Zoom lens, across the world. I think it's entirely nonsensical garbage that men can't feel, men need to be taught how to feel, men need to be more vulnerable. No, I think the whole thing is based on the entitlement that if women think these days they should just have access to men's hearts. We protect our hearts the way you protect your sex. I don't think women have any understanding of that either, because we don't sit around yakking about ourselves like you do. Men may not even be able to articulate this about themselves, right? But observe men closely, feel into them, and this is what you will see. If you can't feel his heart, if he's not giving you his heart, you haven't earned the passage to it yet.
Okay, so how does a woman earn passage to a man's heart?
You know, I hate the word safe because it's been so used and misused in our time. You know, I would say this would be one place where I would say the answer is very parallel. If somebody were to ask a woman, what does a man need to do to earn passage to your sex? And I don't mean that facetiously, right? It would be a multi-point evaluation. It's not one thing, right? Are you trustworthy? Are you consistent? If I open up this part of me, I am making myself vulnerable. Are you the correct person to make myself vulnerable to? Right? Are you a match for me? I think those are good questions, absolutely good questions for women to ask before they open their sex to a man. I think the fact that many women are not asking those questions and not checking off those boxes before they sleep with men is why they are not very happy.
True.
They are violating their own inner boundaries, their own inner checklists, being with men they shouldn't be with, and then they are complaining that the men are not correct. It's internal problem. I think there's a parallel thing. And I don't think it's one thing, right? So there is kind of a qualification that needs to happen. And I would say on my part, it isn't a single thing on a woman's part. I would have to observe you over time. It isn't about any one metric. It's like, who are you as a human being? I need to see you with me. I need to see you with other people. I need to see us in different situations. I need to see who you are as a human being. I need to see how you respond to adversity. I need to see how you respond to anybody opening up to you. Are you consistent? And all of those go into on how receptive somebody should be towards you, how receptive I may feel I want to make my heart to you. I think men are the same way.
Yes, thank you. I totally, well, thank you. I got a deeper understanding into that now. Um, what's the difference between, would you say, in general, Indian men and American men?
Indian men are even more screwed than American men. Indian men are worse mama's boys than American men. Indian mothers are even more dark and edible than American mothers. Indian culture is more fucked than American culture. That's my anecdotal observation. My classes are filled with Indian men and they belong there. They desperately need my help or somebody's help. They have a very hard time. I'm saying all this with love. I'm not making fun of anybody. I'm not blaming the men. I love them deeply and I feel their pain. But this process I'm describing of the dark mother, nobody, all boys and all men defend their mothers, and I certainly the Indian boys do. The Indian mother culturally is really deified. She is considered holy. Mother, talk about the mother can never be wrong, is in our DNA. It is in our scriptures. You want to, I don't know how much time you have. Can I tell you a small anecdote from the Mahabharata?
Please do.
It is in the scripture that the mother can never be wrong. So this is a story. This is a famous, how many brothers were there? 5 brothers, I think. The, the story is about two warring families in the Mahabharata where the Gita comes from. So this is the story. The brothers, they're like 5 brothers, and 4 or 5 brothers. They rescue a woman. Long story short, they rescue a woman and they bring her home. And they come to the threshold, and the mother is in the kitchen cooking, something like that. Her back is turned. And the sons say to the mother, "Mother, look what we have brought." And the mother, without turning, says, whatever you have brought, share it amongst yourselves. All the brothers end up marrying the woman. Why? Because the mother's word can never be wrong. I think in the story, don't quote me on this, I'm not an expert. In the story, when she turns around and realizes what's happened, he's like, no, 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 no. I didn't mean that. I thought you had brought some food or something. I didn't mean a woman. But the thing goes, like, a mother's word can never be wrong. And they like go and consult the wise man. And he says a mother's word can never be wrong. Right? And so if the mother said, whatever you have brought home, share amongst yourselves, this woman must marry all the brothers. And she does. Okay? Absurd to the nth degree. However you want to interpret that, many levels, you can say, well, then that's how responsible a mother needs to be. That's one interpretation. But the ethos still stands that a son may never disobey the mother. That the mother's word is holy. The mother is always and always and always correct. Right? I'm sorry, but most earthly mothers don't meet that standard.
Yeah, no, it's
No?
great.
So talk about this being ingrained in the ethos and the psyches of the Indian boy. Mother is sacred. Mother is holy. Right? And I wish all the mothers were goddesses and perfect. They aren't. But those boys, they don't want to find their mothers wrong. And they are crushed under it. They're crushed under that darkness when they have dark mothers, when they have edible mothers, when they have mothers who want to control their life and sabotage the wife. Happens all the time. It's not a good look. The wives are not happy about it either. You can imagine. They're not happy with husbands who are being run by their mothers.
Sure.
Right? And it's a very common scenario. It's not a good scenario.
Oh, this has been great that you brought this to the forefront so beautifully. Where can people find you? And after that, please, I'll ask you to deliver a final message to men.
My work is online. I have online classes. I have live classes these days now that COVID is looking like it's all over. You can find everything on my website, omrupani.org. All my courses are listed there. I have a live course coming up in a couple of weeks, heading to Mexico for a wonderful 5-day retreat in Tulum. Tantra meets BDSM, teaching with my wonderful collaborator and mentor, Laurie Handlers. And I have other courses coming down the line. And I have 3 online courses that are rolling enrollment. You can join anytime. 1 course is for men, 1 course is for women. 3rd course is a BDSM course for everybody. Everything is listed on the website. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, what's your final message for men?
Final message for men. I don't know. The biggest thing that's coming up in this moment is I would really encourage men to go inwards, to find their core. Maybe almost make more room perhaps for their spiritual journey. Go inwards, get in touch with your own core, get in touch with your own ground, get in touch with your own inner guidance. Go inwards. Start there. I think that aspect is lacking in the lives of modern men, and I think they really need that anchor first. I see too many men looking outwards for guidance. I think the culture we are living in, the outward bound culture we are living in, the social media culture we are living in, everybody is distracted, everybody is ungrounded, everybody is focused too much on the outside. And I think it's particularly not good for men. I think men should have an inner anchor. They should have an inner guidance system, but that needs to be kind of cultivated and developed first and foremost. I would encourage them to pay a little bit more attention towards that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This has
My
definitely
pleasure.
been a fascinating conversation. Thank
Cool.
you so much for your insights and
My pleasure.
you brought. Could I just keep you on to get a title for the show, please? Or
Yep.
you can message me, whatever you prefer.
I can message you. We can talk afterwards.
All right. Thank you,
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.